So, welcome back to the Arsenal podcast, and of course, thank you for joining me once again. We are still looking at the transfers around Arsenal, around the Emirates Stadium until when we cannot do them anymore. That is until the 5th of October, I think. We're going to be talking about this guy, Julian Draxelar, one player that has been linked with Arsenal for almost forever. He's back in the news, and I'm going to tell you what is really written about him. I hope you guys don't get really surprised, but I really don't think he's kind of a player that really has the qualities anymore. But he was once there. Anyway, starting with the transfer gossip around the club this evening, Sokratis Papastopoulos, our shot number 5 defender. We got him from Borussia Dortmund at a very high price, and he's getting a very big wage, around 90k a week. It is in rumors that the player is going to be leaving the club and is going to be going to Napoli on a free transfer. It has been agreed; it's a done deal. Sokratis could actually be leaving the club and heading to Napoli on a free deal where he's going to be getting a 3.5 million, in wages. So probably, I don't know whether that's something good or it is something bad. I don't know whether it is really good that the player is going to leave the club and so on, on a free transfer, because we are looking for money to raise, to raise money for Partey and Aouar, and you would think that these are some of the players that we have to sell. He was worth 3.5 or 4 million, or 5 even, if we decided to sell him, but somehow we have actually just let him go on a free transfer. So Sokratis Papastopoulos next season could actually be a Napoli player. I think Napoli are trying to replace Kalidou Koulibaly, who could actually make a switch to Manchester City this summer. Still around the Emirates Stadium, Emi Martinez is also very, very highly, likely to join Aston Villa. Arsenal saying they should be given some more time to find a replacement for Emi Martinez, and that player they're looking at David Dreyer, the Brentford goalkeeper, as the possible replacement of the man himself, Emi Martinez. It would be such a big loss if Emi Martinez left the club and goes for Aston Villa. I think it would be a big club. It's one of the things we have had as real quality. You have you have 2 goalkeepers as real quality, and then you're letting one of them go. Why can't we convince him to stay? But anyway, it is reported that Aston Villa are still struggling to meet our 20 million asking price, but as long as they meet it, we shall be selling the player, that is to the club itself, Aston Villa. So let us wait and see how that is going to develop. As of course, Rob Holding could actually be staying at the Emirates Stadium, according to the latest reports. Mikel Arteta could be, in need of him. He might actually cross out his deal with Newcastle. Let us talk about this guy. Julian Draxelar, linked with us once again. One of the players that we are linked with so much when Arsene Wenger was still with the side. He's back in the news. Julian Draxelar. What do you think about him? Would you take him at Arsenal? He's a playmaker, a number 10, German. I think he made much of his progress when he was still playing with Schalke 04. That is in the German Bundesliga. Almost, I should say, 6 or 7 years back, when when we were about to bring in Mesut Ozil. These are some of the players we were looking at: Ozil, Julian Draxelar, Mario Götze. They're the kind of players we were looking at. That's the truth. But right now, he's a flop, PSG flop. And of course, PSG are not really planning on using him. He has 1 year left on his contract. We are battling out with him, with Leeds on him. Leeds also want to take him. It really doesn't make sense when we are fighting for a player with Leeds United. They have been just promoted, for Christ's sake. How do we fight for players with Leeds? Anyway, well, I would say if you ask me if whether I would take Julian Draxelar, like, I would say it's it would be a decent squad player addition, not as a starter, because I doubt he has the qualities to start in Arsenal as a starter, because Arsenal, we want to get back to the levels of Liverpool and Manchester City and United. So we need to bring in the players that are on fire. and that's why we're looking at our. But in case we fail to get our and Benrahma, I would take Julian Draxler. Not because I expect much out of him, but he's a talent, decent player, talent. I think he's around 29 right now. He's about 29 or 28 years of age. He went to PSG, crossing over from Germany. And of course, PSG signed so many players there that have not really worked for them. You talk about Hatim Ben Arfa, you talk about Julian Draxler, talk about players like Kabaye. I don't know why they signed them, but they found themselves signing them, and finally, there you go. They are letting them go. So I don't know how much he would cost, but with 1 year left on his contract, I think Arsenal can actually get him around 10 or 15 million. Which would be better than getting Felipe Coutinho on a 10 million loan deal. So I would go for Julian Draxler other than going for Felipe Coutinho, because Coutinho's loan deal 10 million. I'd have Julian Draxler for the next 3 years. If we sign Willian, why can't we sign Julian Draxler? But still, like I said, he's not the quality of player Arsenal should actually sign as a starter. If we are signing him, this could be squad player additions. Like you have our, and on the bench you have Julian Draxler. He comes in in the 70s, or he comes in the Europa League, he comes in the FA Cup, Carling Cup, and something like that. I think the player doesn't have a problem. The player doesn't have a problem with joining the Premier League, especially Arsenal, because for him he says he wants a big team in the EPL. Of course, Arsenal is a big team. The problem is that we don't have Champions League, but Leeds don't have Europa League either. And I think we could be ahead of Leeds if we were quite very serious. The problem is we are linked with so many players and we are not signing any. But I would see Julian Draxler as a decent addition to our squad. Decent addition, squad player. Let him stay on the bench. Bring him in the 70s, 80s. He's one player I think can do some magic in the last 20 or 25 minutes of a game, because, like I said, he's a decent player and has a big talent. Time has caught up with him. I think by one of the disadvantages these boys have had at Germany is that by the time they came up, Germany had so many talents. Because if you look at Draxler, talk about the likes of Mesut Ozil, you talk about Götze, you talk about Marco Reus, you talk about Ike Gundogan, the Matthias Ginters, all of them came at a time when Germany had a lot of talent, lots and lots of talent, coming up, and Germany was great, but they couldn't actually get playing time. Just look at the Bayern Munich of then. Almost the German national team was made out of 7 or 6 players of Bayern Munich, and then you have 3-4 from Dortmund. So really, if you are playing with Schalke 04, Wolfsburg, it was really hard for you to break to get a breakthrough into the German squad. And I think German has fed us with number 10s quite significantly for the past 3, 4, 5 years. Because if I look, actually not 3, 4, 5 years, almost it's almost now 8 or a decade. Because look at Mesut Ozil. He joins Arsenal 7 years back, and that's the time when Mario Götze and Draxler and Ginter come in. So I think Arsenal should go for Julian Draxler if we have no other option. But if you're bringing him as a player who can sit on the bench and wait for the number 10s we want to get in, he's a decent signing. I repeat it, he's a decent signing as a squad player. Don't bring him and start playing him in every game and then put a lot of pressure on him. No, I don't think by the fact that he has not been getting a lot of playing time at PSG, so we don't know much. We don't know how what to expect out of him. But I'll take him at Arsenal. I love him. He's one of those players that I've really followed ever since they were in the German Bundesliga, crossing over to PSG, where he has done a lot of nothing, and then crossing over to EPL. Probably he's going to cross over to the EPL. Of course, the player saying that he wants a big money move, in the English Premier League. It makes sense. For me, it makes sense for me. Let him come to Arsenal. Give him, he's 29. Give him 2 years, 3 years, just like Willian. And then if he proves, give him another, year in reward. If he doesn't prove, well and good, let him go. But of course, I know Arsenal would want to get him on a free transfer next season, and that's why Leeds could actually beat us on the on this signing. But trust me, if Leeds got Julian Draxler, they would have got a top class player. They would have got a top class player. You know what it means, Leeds? You've been just promoted from you've been just promoted from the championship, and you get a player like Julian Draxler. It's really interesting, really interesting, and I think this is good scouting, Leeds. Thank you. It's good scouting. I wonder why Arsenal at times doesn't just put a lot of efforts to sign such players. Sign Julian Draxler, go in and sign players like the Mario Götze. They can work for you 1 or 2 years because you're broke, you don't have the money. Why not go for that guy? Just look at him. When I look at him on my screen, he looks like football. He looks like football. I want to be honest. Just look at how smart he is, and the hairstyle. I think he looks like football. He's a very very great footballer. He has not had the best time to express himself in the Champions League and those big competitions. I think he went to PSG. It was a big mistake, but the money. I think he went there because of the money, but he didn't get a lot of time there. It's like when you join PSG or Bayern, you have to fight for your place in those clubs. And he joined PSG where you have Neymar. By the time I think Zlatan was still there, they had Marco Verratti. They still had Cavani. So they had so many quality players, and it was very hard for you to break through into that squad. And finally, he doesn't get playing time. But anyway, that is the man for you, Julian Draxler, linked with Arsenal. Probably we could sign him, or Leeds could actually take him, but we could see him in the EPL next season. When I look at him, I think about James Rodriguez signing for Everton, and I'm like, if Everton signed James Rodriguez, how about us getting Julian Draxler? It makes some sense. Anyway, that is the late transfer update for you. Nothing else around Partey and Owa. I know you're gonna ask that. Nothing else. Nothing else.